Well, the ogre. The amazing thing about the ogre was that it was Doug's concept, the climb, and his concept was, and I think it was almost a reaction to the 75 Everest expedition, which, if you like, was a very structured, large expedition, and that this should be just like an alpine meet, even to the degrees that we were climbing as three separate pairs, all doing our own thing. So there was Doug and Paul Braithwaite, Mo Antoine and Clive Rowland. Originally there was going to be Dougal Haston and myself, because Dougal was a very close friend of mine, and then tragically, of course, Dougal was killed shortly before the Ogre expedition, and I asked Nick Escort, who was another very close friend, to come with me. And so we were all doing our own thing. Nick and I had one go for it, and had actually climbed the West Summit, but hadn't realised how hard the main summit was. Came back down, and then we had our second effort, and it was Doug and I with Mo and Clive, but Doug and I actually were first out to climb the main summit itself. Up to that time the weather had been absolutely perfect. So we climbed it. Doug led an absolutely incredible pitch just below the summit. It was incredibly hard climbing, and Thomas Huber, who made the second ascent, commented on just how hard it was and how impressed he was that Doug had climbed it. Doug had taken his crampons off to climb it, and it was getting very late in the day. He hadn't put his crampons back on. We got to the summit, and Doug immediately started fixing the abseil and went down, and he hadn't put his crampons on. By that time it was almost pitch dark, and the rope was going at an angle. He stepped on some ice just as he came to the end of the abseil, and the rope at this angle, and he had this colossal pendulum, and of course broke both legs. And so suddenly, from that moment, it became an epic. And as always, once you've taken liberties, everything goes wrong. So we managed to get back down. We got back to our top snow hole, and then that night the weather broke, and we had this huge storm. And so we ended up, actually we got down, but we had 5 days without food. I had a fall, broke my ribs. Doug had another abseil fall. He actually went right off the end of the ropes. I was hurtling down this gully, and fortunately we had some fixed rope at the bottom of the gully, which went across the gully, and he grabbed the rope as he went across it. So it was a huge epic. And I think the interesting thing was that I think we survived because we worked as a team. We survived because Clive Rowland and Mo Antoine, they were sticking with us, risking their lives in helping us get down. And I think, to me, what impressed me with Doug was that here was a guy with 2 broken legs who could only crawl. And I think an awful lot of people would have just failed completely. But Doug not only succeeded in getting himself down, he remained a vibrant, important, if you like, shared decision maker within our team. And that, I think sums up Doug. He is a very special person. I think if you've created something, which, say, the Southwest Face of Everest expedition was, it was my idea, I'd got the team together, it was my entity. And therefore, the actual success of the expedition as a whole is infinitely more important than just personally getting to the top of the mountain. And I think that if you let kind of personal ambition kind of dominate your thinking, you're a less effective leader. And I think good leaders are people who see the whole picture and actually want, that success is making the expedition successful. If you go to the top yourself, well, that's just a bit of cream on top. And I think it's very important. I think you're going to be more effective. And it's the same, I think, when you see leaders in business, when you see the leader in business who is always, in the news, is always hogging the limelight, I think is not necessarily the best leader. And I think the really good leaders are the leaders who are actually quite quiet and who actually almost push other people forward to say, look, this is what he did. This is what he did to achieve success for our business. That's what leadership's all about.